Welcome back, everybody. Today we are going to be doing something a little different than what has been going on the channel. We're actually going to take a look back at my way too early mock draft from last year. Similar to this year, I made it right after the draft. I believe it was a day or two after the draft had happened. And yeah, we're just going to go through it, see some of the horrible misses I had, see some of the better takes I had. It's really hard to predict the player. I think my mindset was more so, can we nail down kind of the position groups, maybe the positions that these teams needed, and then any specific player in general will be a boost. It'll definitely be interesting to see what my mind was thinking a year ago, and I will probably do this in a year with the way too early mock draft that I just put out on my TikTok. If you are not following, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, make sure to subscribe and like the video below, comment. It's a free and easy way to help me out. Let's get into it though. Starting off with the Giants picking first. I believe I chose this draft order based on just kind of how I was feeling about how teams would perform. This was not the auto-generated one. Yeah, so to start, we have the Giants taking Caden Proctor. Not really horrible, I don't think. I definitely thought Proctor would kind of take the leap as OT1. I thought he had the size, played at the premier brand, premier team in college football. Obviously, it wasn't the best season for him. A lot of questions about whether he'll be tackle or guard. Just really didn't develop the foot speed at all the way that we were kind of hoping he would. But he still goes 12th to the Dolphins, and the Giants still took a tackle at 10. I'm not too upset about that. I feel like that's a pretty solid mock on my part. Caleb Downs going number 2 to the Browns. This was really before we knew their offensive line would be in complete shambles. Because leading into the few previous years, they've had a really good offensive line that just kind of dealt with some injuries. So it was hard to really project the complete fall off that it would have. And I just figured Caleb Downs, BPA, keep him in the state. Really awesome player. He only built on that. Obviously doesn't go in the top 10, but I think that's more of a discussion about positional value as opposed to how good that player actually is. Titans at 3, I had going TJ Parker. They still went edge at the end of the first round, and Parker ended up falling out of the first round, was taken early day 2. This will be a very consistent theme with all of these Clemson players, that they just did not have a good year compared to the previous year. I put money on them to be the national champions. I thought they were veteran on both sides of the ball, all had great previous years coming into this year, and just for whatever reason, every single one of them took a step back. So a bit of a miss on my part there, although they did end up taking an edge in the first round. Jets go Arch Manning. Obviously, I was buying into the hype, and that is just not how it played out. Now, I think he started playing better towards the end of the year, and it's certainly not unrealistic that the Jets could have taken a quarterback. If Dante Moore would have declared for the draft, he would be the pick there, but obviously a bit of a miss on my part. Even bigger miss in my eyes here with the Saints taking Sam Levitt. This is a miss on both ends. I was not a huge believer in their quarterback, who I'm really blanking on right now. It'll come to me in a moment. I was not super high on their draft pick at quarterback last year. And he, after taking over the starting job from Spencer Rattler, really started to play well down the stretch. Showed his, veteranness, his age, his experience. He's got a really good arm. He feels the pocket really well. And then on the flip side, Sam Levitt, which is a really toolsy quarterback, has a rocket launcher for an arm, just remarkably inconsistent, inaccurate, bad at reading the field. Transfers to LSU, and hopefully for him, he could figure it out this year because he's got the talent, the physical ability to be a really good quarterback. He just needs to put it together. Obviously did not have the season that I was thinking he would have. Tyler Shough. Panthers go Malik Muhammad. Still a solid cornerback, but I was unaware of his kind of size limitations. Probably more of just a nickel guy. I can't remember if the Panthers hit corner at any point in this draft. I thought they could have. But this is a complete miss on my part. I think Muhammad went in the 4th round, and I'm not sure that the Panthers spent any significant capital on their secondary, on corner. Francis Mauigoa to the Los Angeles Raiders. I don't think this is really that atrocious at all. If I recall correctly, they did not spend a significant draft pick on O-line, but they should have. I think that was a big contention with my grade that I gave them. I know I did not give them a very good grade in my draft hall grade video. You should go check out if you haven't seen it. They needed to address offensive line. It was putrid this year. They couldn't run the ball, and they couldn't protect Geno. Geno wasn't very good, but he was not helped by his offensive line just being torn to shreds, turnstiles, Swiss cheese the whole season. So I know this didn't happen, but man, it probably could have. They could have hit O-line at some point. But it's right around where Mauigoa went, a little early, but it's by a few picks, so I'm not too upset about that. Bit of a miss by me here on the Indianapolis Colts taking Cade Klubnik at 8. I was really high on Cade Klubnik. Thought he was a super high floor player. And I thought he would continue to build on his previous season. Similar to me betting on the Clemson Tigers to win the national championship, I bet on Cade Klubnik to be the Heisman. So that just tells you how bought into him that I was. Along with everyone else at Clemson, just did not have the season that we expected. Really had accuracy and anticipation problems over the middle of the field. Just did not throw the ball well. So, I mean, they could still use a quarterback. I don't think that's egregious, but definitely a bit of a bad pick on my part. Followed up by another rough one. I'm trying to go back to remembering what I was thinking. Nico Iamaleava transferring to UCLA. One of the worst teams in the country. Taken over by not Neuheisel. He was the offensive coordinator. I forget the defensive coordinator's name. Started to turn around, and I still kind of have faith in Nico. I think he might be kind of in my top 10 quarterbacks going into this season. But he was not nearly as good as I thought he would be. The Cowboys definitely do not need a quarterback. I might have been going for some sort of bold Dak Prescott take. Flamed out on me pretty horribly. Browns going Jordan Tyson, stamping this one as a win on both fronts. The Browns take Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston with significant picks in this draft. Clearly wide receiver is something they wanted to target. And that's not far off from where Jordan Tyson went. So that's a win on both ends. Same with Spencer Fano here. Kind of had him right around the range he was going. Just kind of shows you the consistency that he brought into this season. You know, going into the year being considered a top 10 pick and at the end of the year landing as a top 10 pick. Obviously the Seahawks were a lot better than I thought they would be. So they weren't really in a spot to select Spencer Fano that high, but I still think that's pretty solid. Peter Woods, It's going to be a carbon copy of the two Clemson conversations I've had before, and we are going to have another one right after this pick. Just didn't have the season that he was hoping. And then the offseason came in really light, didn't test well for his size. Just a really, really bad season and offseason for him. And he still goes round 1 to the Chiefs. So, didn't really kill him that much. He's still a solid player, but definitely a miss on my part. Avion Terrell to the Falcons. Got the team right. I was, about 30 spots, 40 spots off of where he was going to get picked. I got the team right, so pretty proud of that one. Lenore Sellers, another miss, similar to Sam Levitt. Really toolsy, physically gifted, not as good of arm as Levitt, but certainly more mobile, more agile, better runner. The Steelers definitely could have needed quarterback. They selected Drew Aller in the 3rd round, so that's not super unrealistic, but Sellers did not nearly have the season that he had hoped. Jermon McCoy here at 15. If he did not need another surgery that almost guaranteed him being out this entire season, this would be right around where he would have went, I would say. Probably even closer to the top 10. And the Dolphins are a super cornerback needy team. That was well known. I know a lot of mocks going into the draft were mocking him Delane there or McCoy there before we really knew how far he was going to fall. So that I don't think is unrealistic whatsoever. Jeremiah Love to the Bears. That was something that we saw mocked up until, a month or two out from the draft, and when his stock really just started rising to the point where he goes number 3. Obviously, I was not quite on the hype train at that point, but what can you do? I don't think it's quite unrealistic. Ruben Bain at 17. I know he actually went 15 in this draft, but this one I'm even going to consider a complete miss on my part because he was awesome. I have made it known how much I'm a huge fan of Ruben Bain. I don't care about the off the field. I don't care about the arm length. I thought he was the best player in this class. So the fact that I had him at 17 is definitely a miss on my part. A.J. Harris had an awful year, was terrible, absolute garbage on a garbage team. Transfers to Indiana, and hopefully he can rebound with Cart Signetti and play like he did 2 years ago, because I thought he was pretty good. He's got good size if he can kind of build out his frame. I like A.J. Harris. But that was definitely a miss. Zane Durant, another big miss. I mean, the Broncos ended up taking D-line with their first pick in the draft, so kind of nailed the position that they were going to target. But Zane Durant just really undersized, didn't tested well, but not fantastic for what you would want to see from him. He just gets moved around in the run game. I think he ended up being the 5th or 6th round pick, day 3 kind of guy, so big miss on my part. Texans, again, I kind of nailed the position they were going for, just had the player completely wrong. Chandler Rivers, good player, just really small. I guess in hindsight, not really the Packers type of corner that they like. Jake Slaughter to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Funny enough, Jake Slaughter went a lot higher than I thought he should, so maybe this doesn't look bad, but I wasn't a big fan of Jake Slaughter. I wasn't a big fan of where he was chosen, I think, by the Chargers. So that's not a good one. It's starting to really derail down here, and I'm looking at some of the next picks, and it does not get better. The first half of this draft, I don't think was too bad. I had some solid players in there. I had some solid team needs in there, just the wrong player. But man, does it really fall off here. LT Overton. Definitely a position they needed. I don't remember if they hit it with a significant pick, but LT Overton just draft value tanked. throughout the season. Nicholas Singleton, again, they were rumored to be in on Jeremiah Love if he were to fall to them. They ended up taking his teammate, Katron Allen, in the 7th round, who I actually ended up liking better than Nicholas Singleton, who falls to day 3, has no vision, super explosive, super twitchy, but can't see holes, can't see cutback lanes. That was a huge miss. Michael Taff, a smaller, undersized, unathletic safety that went way later than this. Garrett Nussmeier, again, not a horrible team position selection because they do end up going with Ty Simpson here in the 1st round. And I really think if Garrett Nussmeier didn't have those spinal issues, I forget exactly what, I think it was like a tumor or a cyst or something on a nerve, I think he actually could have been drafted pretty high. Obviously, there's some serious concerns about his injury history, so the player is way off, but position was pretty money. Anthony Hill, I was betting on his size and athleticism, just didn't pan out in college to the point where he'd end up being a 1st-round pick. I thought Eric Singleton was going to be a speed demon deep threat. Was not great. So he fell down the board. Keldrick Falk, pretty spot on as far as team drafting and where he goes. Right around at the end of the 1st round. And the Chiefs go with a somewhat similar player in Peter Woods. They play different positions, but similar sizes, similar builds. Dylan Thieneman, I remember him as a solid player at Purdue. I wasn't ultra familiar with him, but I just remember hearing about a bit of a high floor player at the time, so I thought maybe back end of the 1st round. Obviously, he scoots up a little bit, so I'd say that's pretty solid selection on my part. Denai Dennis Sutton is one of those guys who just has all the physical tools in the world. Length, size, speed, and it just never got put onto the field. It just never showed up on tape. He ends up going to Green Bay as just kind of a developmental depth piece that hopefully with good coaching you can tap into it, but certainly was not worth this selection. And then Deontay Lawson, definitely a miss on that. I thought he had the makings of a legit linebacker, best linebacker in the class. I think he might have been undrafted. So very, very wrong on that one. All in all, I don't think it's atrocious. I think it had some pretty solid fits, some pretty solid players up there. I don't think it was super chalky either, so took some risks. Definitely missed on some. I'm excited to do this again in a year with the way too early draft that I just did. And it's going to be even more fun because I know when I did this, I wasn't ultra familiar with a lot of these players. And by the time the draft came around, I was super familiar with a bunch of these players. So I'm excited to go through that whole process again. But that's going to be it for me today. If you liked the video, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment. It's free. It's easy. It helps me out. But other than that, I have got nothing. Appreciate you guys.